And we're back, and you're listening to Villain Cast BJJ Antiheroes with myself, Chris the Villain Pains, and Naki El Jefe Arshed. And welcome to Reap the Week. Firstly, a thank you to our sponsors, the lovely Patreons on Patreon. Thank you for believing in this work. And if you'd like to learn more about supporting this channel, along with receiving exclusive content such as the new episodes of How to Defend Everything 3.0, along with personal coaching, you can find out more via chrispainsbjj.com. I know, right? I've so much has changed, Nak. I'm having to redo How to Defend Everything. So it's what we did on Fanatics plus the other stuff we did on Fanatics, with an extra few more stuff about how to train it more than anything else. But it's because it's a work in progress, and all those kind of new ideas I just stick on Patreon and share those ideas as they're being formed. Yeah, How to Defend Everything 3.0 episodes are going on to there.
Nice.
It was a sweaty night. I've had to rehydrate after tonight. How are you feeling, dude?
Mate, since Thursday I've just tried to stay on top of my water because it gets very sweaty in there.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. Well, both gyms, it's just one of those things right now. Staying hydrated. I carry around is it half a gallon jug with me pretty much all the time now.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I think it's it reminds me of how much I've drunk that day. I don't count coffee and anything else I have. I have to at least go through one or two of those a day. It's getting more like two after some of the sessions we've had. We have quite a bit to talk about this evening. So everyone on Discord, we put this question out to the Discord channel. If you'd like to join that, there are various links in various places, such as if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a link in the description to our Discord channel. And this seems... It's like I like this. I love the Discord channel. I love the ideas that keep coming through it, but I'm just shit at replying to things sometimes. And I think this is probably the best way of answering people, because if I want to say something, it's usually a wall of text. So I'll someone actually sent me a message on Instagram asking about a class that I did at the Globetrotter camp in Maine. The class, the Winter Soldier. I said, look, I'll answer it in the podcast because if I'm to write it out, it's gonna take forever. So I like this idea that it's a weird way of conversing, but people can ask questions. We'll answer them through here.
I send so many people towards the podcast. I'm like, look, just go to the podcast, and then if you've got questions, ask us.
Dude, I think in class you're people asking various things. You went, just go to the podcast. We answer it in the podcast.
Yeah.
It does seem like an easier way of conversing with people in a one-way street. So some of the questions we've had then are regarding the new way we're looking at jiu-jitsu, especially with the new BJJ Fanatics releases of unstoppable stand-ups and how to learn jiu-jitsu. First one we're going to talk about then is how do we learn guard passing whilst not creating openings? Oddly enough, that's something we've been working for the past couple of weeks in class. So I think it actually is the way. So the way I thought about playing this drill in the gym is the 5 points of wow. I can actually make signs on camera. You okay? Anyone watching your side of the camera is going to get motion sickness.
I just reset my position. That's all.
We'll have to get you a tripod for your phone. I have so many tripods lying around. I'm pretty sure there's 4 tripods behind me. But I like freestanding ones as well. I've got so many different ways of holding stuff. I've got a tripod for the ring light, lighting my face up. I've got a tripod for the camera, pointing at my face. I've got a desk boom arm for the mic here, and I've got about 3 tripods behind me. I've got gimbals. If anyone broke into this house, they'd think I was a very strange individual. Anyway, so how guard passing whilst not creating openings. So the drill we've been doing in the gym, which I thought was useful, is okay. The 5 control points on a human being are behind the head, in the armpits, and behind the knees. Especially in no-gi, the combination of those points essentially make all the guards. And as a basic drill, it'd be, I like this idea of either balancing complexity or intensity. So if you start with basic complexity and you then build intensity, if you're going to change complexity, if you're going to add complexity, you have to restart intensity. So if those are the 5 control points, person on the floor, you are the puzzle maker. It's your job to educate the other person through the puzzles you create. You're not in competition with the puzzle solver, aka the person doing the drill. Person who's upright, just block those 5 points. And if blocking 5 is too complicated because you're new or newer to jiu-jitsu, start with 2. Start with like just behind the legs. So the person on the floor is just going to attack those things and you're just going to block them, move, and that's it. Over time, again, you don't have to try and solve it in a day. If it takes 2 or 3 lessons, 2 or 3 weeks, a couple of months, like build up. It's okay. But yes, add complexity over time that you're eventually hooking for those 5 points. Then flip the drill. Person on the floor is blocking, so they're using their 4 frames, hands, feet, predominantly. If their hands and feet fail, using shins and forearms, because those are the next available parts. You know, you don't want anyone above your knees or elbows because that means they've passed your guard. So you want as many joints as you can between you and the other person. Use your feet to block them. And the person on top is either going to upright pass or low pass. Try and get past your frames. And that's there looking at denying guard and guard retention. Then add those 2 drills together. So into like a basic sparring, like situational sparring, but in a way that it's still only sticking to the complexity that you've already established with your partner. Like if they can't deal with low passing yet, all you've done is upright passing, then just do upright passing. Same as if you're only hunting for the backs of their legs, don't suddenly start grabbing their arms. And you try and poke your way through the other person's gap. So the person on the floor is trying to blend, blocking, making sure the other person doesn't get past their knees, whilst also trying to find behind the legs or the arms or the head or whatever, whilst the person on top is trying to get past the knees, trying to get past the frames, whilst also denying space behind the back of the knees, armpits or head or whatever. So oddly enough, you've then created a guard passing drill that doesn't create openings. And you can then, because you've isolated these various points, if it fails, you can look directly at what the point of failure was and drill it. Go, right, where did it go wrong? Where was the blend of the 2, offense and defense? Where did it fail? I think that, because we had a guy who started only last week, I think that went really well, because he was already doing guard retention and then throwing his way into like controlling the backs of the knees. And I was like, this is day 1. He's doing guard retention.
Just looking around and doing the drills and stuff, I was like, yeah, people are getting this. They're getting this. You know, they're trying to get up, they're trying to play, trying to get behind them spaces, and they're attacking aggressively.
There is a video I'm going to do on the Patreon. Plug. Tomorrow, actually. So the day this comes out, I'm going to be recording in the gym, Stone Gym, actually, about guard passing whilst denying openings. And I've actually got a video lined up, like a case study video to like prove my point. So anyone, if you're around to watch that, I'm going to be looking at denying those spaces, and a very well-known athlete doing it in action against many people. Yes. So that's essentially one of the reasons why I thought this drill was quite interesting, because denying guard in the first place makes way more sense than getting stuck in it and then trying to get out of it in the first place. And that's essentially what we do. And that's actually, it was one interesting thing. So when we rolled is, I'm kind of giving my game plan away here, is there are points where it does look like I've given away the back of my knee, especially to you, and when we're sparring, for example, in half guard. Except there's a point where are you controlling the back of my knee with your heel, or am I controlling your heel with my back of my knee? Because I don't want you to stand up. So I'm controlling your bottom leg with my kneecap. And so there are certain points when you start pulling my leg towards you and start pulling me deeper into like a half guard that I actually abandon and let you just close up. So there's a kind of like nuanced moment where, am I in half guard or am I controlling your bottom leg with my knee? It's an interesting moment. And that is a general consideration I have. I'll have to maybe go through the footage of tonight's rolls, and maybe I can separate that out. So it's only short moments, but it's a conscious thing that I'm actually doing. I don't know if you notice it, because then when I'm on the bottom, I do pull your leg in pretty hard, and I abandon when you pull my heel back.
That's why, if you notice, I pick my time when I want to pass, and when I do decide, I go fast, because I know if I mess around, you'll be entering the legs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I have to. I say it's. There are nuanced moments like that where it might look like you should just straight deny, but you're actually controlling them in a weird way. Like you have them, not they have you.
I think defending all 5 places is impossible if you want to attack and get in somewhere anyway. So I think there's going to be a give and take. But then when you're in them positions where it looks like one's incontrollable, they're actually not. It's like they're the nuanced positions, I think, where the fight happens.
I call it like gambling, where belts and braces. Perfect job would be to completely deny someone any access to those 5 points.
Yeah, of course.
And get past their knees. If someone has one of those or 2 of those or something like that, it's still possible, because you're going to try and get ahead of their knees and open up their armpits and then try and free your leg later, for example. But I refer to that as gambling, and I only do it against people who I think I'm better than skill-wise. Because if I'm against someone who is good, equal to me or better, it's not worth a gamble. I'm probably going to lose this. I'm going to lose this gamble. So it's something that I don't. It's a respect thing, as in again, I think I've talked about this before when we talk about the defensive postures, where I'll allow people who aren't who I feel I can play with into those spaces, so I can find my way out in a later way. But someone who is as good as or better than me, I will not let them into those places just because it's not safe.
I agree. You got to be very cautious. I know you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan.
Exactly. It's better to be belts and braces perfect with your jiu-jitsu than playing some gambles sometimes. Especially when you're against people who when they take something, they take it completely. And you ain't having it back. And that's then you kind of know that, oh yeah, I fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. But I think it's a good drill as well, because identifying those points conceptually allow you to know where you're fucking up. Like, right, oh yeah, it was the back of my knee that was caught, and the next kind of phase that I have kind of planned is then allow people to kind of get slightly caught and then get out and then find their way back into it. So like not teaching them necessarily different guard passes or passes to different guards, should I say, but it's only those same 5 points they need to get rid of. They need to strip, they need to break, and let them figure their own way out. It'd be interesting to see how that goes. Next question. Most fun guard that you play? What about you?
See here, I prefer to play inside a lot, just because of leg locks and stuff. But I don't really have a favorite guard. I look as guard as one because I have favorite moves I like to do from certain guards, for example, butterfly or even half guard. Like there's certain things I like doing, but I think you have to adapt to the person who you're rolling against because some guards you can't play against some people. So I like to have a game plan for every guard, and I think of it as one rather than broken up into butterfly, half guard. More on the lines of inside and outside. I think about.
Yeah. I like the idea of the three core guards for myself, of outside being my close guard, my inside being butterfly, and my half guard being the blend, and being able to blend between all three. As in, I'm always going to pass through half guard. As if I'm going to go butterfly to close guard, I'm going to have to go through half guard as I take my hooks out and reestablish them in different places. For fun, though, inverting. And it's been a lot of fun, especially with the whole, there should always be the threat of stand-up, being able to play, getting up, going back down, getting up, inverting, going back up again. The threat level with that feels very interesting.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's again the whole thing we've been talking about with standing up is, if I feel the pressure is quite a lot, I'll normally revert back to my close guard, try and threaten with own platters and just like arm. So again, it was one thing that from the Sodas podcast, which again keeps coming back to, the idea of Kazushi about breaking someone's physiological integrity is, if someone's putting a lot of pressure on me, i.e. you, I feel I need to unbalance you. I can't do it normally through sweeps, especially if you've got a lot of pressure on me. I haven't got the space to try and generate them, but I can fuck with your shoulders. And so that's why I normally threaten the back of your arms quite a lot. I allow you to kind of like go a bit further over, especially if you're putting pressure on me. You're normally stacked in towards me a little bit, so then I'll start to cut angles to put pressure on your arms to try and threaten you that way.
I know.
I'm giving game plans away here.
I have to enter the fire somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the idea that I can play a bit of half, go for the stand, make you come flying in to try and put me down, then play a bit of close, bit of half, trying to like throw in your shoulders a bit, and it's an exhausting game. Dude, I'm having to hit the gym so fucking often right now, just to try and keep up with making this more of a sport, and introducing more sport-like ideas to how people roll, such as, if you're not putting pressure on them, they can stand up, and if you're not being pressured, stand up. Now you've got these young guns in their 20s and they're just jumping to their feet, and you're like, I need to now put effort in to keep you down.
Yeah.
Which means my cardio now has to work, and that means I have to go to the gym. And I thought I'd pass that. I thought I had black belt magic and I didn't have to do this kind of stuff anymore. But no, it turns out, although that's actually, weirdly, I think a downfall of sometimes being like how you form the gym around you and how you create the training. You can kind of rely on your black belt magic to keep people down, and because it doesn't take a lot of effort, sometimes you can just spin underneath in guard and catch them with some bullshit. I was getting unfit due to not having to try and rolling, just spinning around under people and catching magic every now and then, and that was it. And according to some of the blood tests I was doing, I was actually getting out of shape. Now I am probably in the best shape I've been in the past 6 years.
Yeah. You monster at the moment. You
Dude,
should get back to competing, man. Trust me.
I'm gonna have to. I've like weirdly. So my weight hasn't changed in the past 4 months, but I've completely changed up my diet, intermittent fasting, and I'm hitting the gym every goddamn day. Weight hasn't changed, so I'm assuming some fat has disappeared and some muscle has replaced it. Otherwise, I am training very wrong. Although looking at the pictures now, I'm bigger than you now. I'm like the biggest dude in the gym.
Yeah, I'm fucking tiny these days, mate.
Like, when did that? You are. It's the hard work we're all putting in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So funnest guard inversions always. Passes that work. The question. I think that's a hard one to answer when you don't actually teach passing. Because every pass kind of fails if you allow them into those points. And again, it's that whole idea of gambling is, passes, you can make any kind of pass where someone's got you. You can kind of like, okay, right, they're behind my leg, but I can just, pass through their knee and put pressure through here. But it's a gamble. And it's those moments where they can catch you because they've got your leg. They can just position themselves somewhere else and probably send you over. Safest passes are always denial, completely strip out of it. Do not allow them between your thigh and armpit, behind your head or behind your leg, and then climb above their knees, either by going over, under, around, or through, splitting the legs or pinning legs together. That's the formula.
Yep.
And that's all I'm ever thinking about with passing is denial, and then over the knees, under knees, around the knees, or through the knees, whilst either pinning the knees together or splitting them apart.
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
it's a numbers game. You got 2 feet, 2 knees, and 2 hips to pass. So you start cancelling and taking out and putting in, and putting speed in there, some pressure, and find the openings.
Yeah, blending in, go high, go low.
Yeah.
As soon as you pass the knees, like the guard is falling apart because there's no other joints past the hips. You just need to get past the knees, then rip the armpits open.
But I mean, if I had to
and
pick
so as long as it kind of fits that formula.
Yeah. If I had to pick like a type of pass that I like, I really love stack passes.
Going under, yeah. I like the idea as well, like not sticking to a particular plan.
Yeah. It's open. You adapt.
Yeah, as in, I like the idea of over, under, round, and through because you can go over, and when they adjust to stop the over, go under, go around it. If you pin the legs together and they try and force them apart, go through it, split them.
Yeah.
As long as you kind of, that's all you need to think about. Is, am I passing the kneecaps? There's there used to be an Australian coach who used to go to the Globetrotters camps called Chad Wright, and one thing he used to talk about, he used to do the same guard every single camp, and he always used to talk about fucking the armpit, and in an Australian accent it was always hilarious. But I think it was useful for him to do that. He did say it once, is that you remember it better. Like, by saying I'm going to fuck the armpit, yeah, I'm going to remember that. And Dan Hur was the same.
I
mentioned this. Fuck it. I went to a Dan Hur seminar 2016, 2017. Messrs. Ryan and Tony were also in attendance. And Dan Hur was on about when you trying to get high up the leg for a outside heel hook. Imagine there's a double-ended dildo between your assholes, and you're going to hide it. And here we are, or here I am, all these years later. Best part 6-7 years later, and that sticks in my head that I need to be that high up the leg to hide that dildo. And when you put something awful like that on the teaching, it does stick in your head.
Traumatizing.
And Christian Graugott was the same when you referred to your kneecaps being your G-spot. And you don't want, if you're doing guard retention, you don't want another man or woman touching your G-spot. And it sticks in your head. I remember actually doing a seminar in Denver. And I mentioned it that way. I was like, you don't want, this is your G-spot. Your kneecap is your G-spot. Don't let anyone get north of your G-spot. And there was a couple of kids in attendance. It was a really packed room. And the head coach, one of the coaches afterwards, a friend of mine, messaged me saying that one of these kids had gone home and gone to his mom. Goes, Mom, I know where your G-spot is. It's your kneecap. And he's like, I think the dad messaged the coach explaining this, and he forwarded it on to me. I was like, that's not my problem anymore. I'm off. Some like 10-year-old saying, Mom, I know where your G-spot is. It's your kneecaps. Some poor woman in the future is going to be disappointed with that man when he grows up. I'm glad I could be a part of that. Oh my God. Jiu-Jitsu's strange, man. There's some strange stories out there.
Yep.
There's some strange stories. Maybe one day we should do an episode on like weird jiu-jitsu stories, because
somebody's going to sue us, mate, or somebody's going to come for us.
No, just I think it's part of traveling sometimes, is that you just end up in weird circumstances.
Yes.
Like, the time I ended up in a homeless shelter in Germany.
Yeah,
it's that kind of stuff. Maybe that's, I don't know if that's jiu-jitsu or just being stupid, but either way, maybe when we have a different podcast, we can talk about some strange things that have happened. Anyway, next question. It's kind of similar to all this. Advice on upright hand fighting. I actually did a class on this on Friday, but what bits of advice do you normally coach with when you're talking about upright hand fighting?
Are we talking like stand up, or the bottom person being down and fighting from the bottom up?
Stand up, but I guess wrestling. Actually they kind of, fuck the idea of wrestling. It's all jiu-jitsu.
It's all. I mean, it would be the same from the bottom as well, because the way we wrestle standing with the hand fighting is the same we wrestle from the bottom. It's all collar ties, arm drags, Russian ties, all that stuff that you do on the top is when you do at the bottom as well, in my opinion. Well, I play that anyway. Yeah.
Well, usually, on a base concept level, I said this on Friday because the same question was asked in the gym, is first and foremost, 2-on-1. I prefer 2-on-1 grip. Assuming the other person's stronger, I'm going to go for a 2-on-1.
Always.
Attack the front arm, not the back. Back arm's weak. Front arm's nice and there for you, and it's normally the front door to all the takedowns that you want. So depending how if you are matched with the other person, say if their right leg is forwards and your right leg is forwards, it's going to be like an arm drag. If their left leg is forward and your right leg is forward, it's going to be a Russian tie-up or something. Yeah. Either way, you're attacking that front arm. You don't try and attack the back arm. If we're in like a collar and elbow kind of, back of the head and elbow kind of situation, I don't like being in those situations where we're both kind of doing it. Yeah. Because it feels like, why I've given you the back of my head, unless I've got the inside track. So that's kind of leaning a bit on like Muay Thai when you're doing the plum and stuff, where I want my arm on the inside of your arm, and so it's that kind of pummel again. Being on the inside track in general, like, so if someone's got same with kind of judo, if someone's got your collar and your hands are on the outside, you're normally the person who's going to get air, so you have to kind of pummel your arm onto the inside. It's the exact same. if there's disparity in head height, that's when a takedown normally happens. So if you're over the top of someone's head, you can normally like go over the top of them and sprawl their head into the ground. If you're underneath their head, you can look for
doubles and singles. Boom.
Yeah, doubles and singles, getting underneath them. And so using your hands to try and create those disparities, because if someone's matching you, your head height, you need to try and force a disparity. So that's where my hand fighting would then go, try and beat their hands, try and beat the 2-on-1, try and get a parry out the way or get on the inside track, and then create a disparity, which will then suit me, either by going over them or under them. And those are normally the
fundamentals, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like that idea that we can isolate all those little different ideas and then work on each of those ideas and try and find entries in. And then again, like the same thing about the whole guard passing thing is increase intensity with a certain complexity. And then once you're happy with it, increase the complexity and then restart the intensity. And you can identify all those different things. So like I say, head disparity, 2-on-1s. Same like I remember saying to you once, like anytime you look down, I was going to snap your head off.
Yeah.
And kind of we started fighting very upright at that point and matching head height. And yeah, I think that's a easy way of dealing with hand fighting from upright, because the same kind of stuff happens on the ground. Like I'm always attacking the front arm, arm drags and Russian tie-ups depending on what arm is forwards compared to mine, and which is my strong arm for doing it as well. So I still the same stuff applies. I want the inside track. Like if I'm in someone's close guard, I want my arms on the inside. I want my bicep control. If you're on my biceps, you're in control. So I can't allow that if I'm on top. Yep. Just those kind of fundamental ideas for hand fighting kind of they carry over. So I don't like seeing it as wrestling. It's still jiu-jitsu to me.
Yeah.
Next question. Is there still a place for hawking in what we now do?
Yes.
Really?
I think it's not hawking like you say, calling it hawking 3.0. I think it's a very hybrid version of Running Man that we're playing now. Because we don't like laying in that side control position much, do we? We either play that Running Man where we either try to get the frame if they blow on our legs, or if they go high, we go to turtle. So a lot of guys aren't playing hawking at the moment in the way we used to play it.
I think I'd say I'm not exactly playing hawking, but I'm playing more Vim's inspired the compass. We haven't spoken about that in a while. As in that kind of idea of if I can't move my hips, I can move my shoulders. If I can't move my shoulders, I can move my hips. So if someone's on my hips, that's why I'm going to try and move my shoulders away. I want to look at the three options. I can either move laterally, shoulders and hips along the floor. I can do rotation, and I can do contraction and extension. And so I use those. That's where hawking would kind of move in, is that if I need to be able to use my hands to frame on someone when they have my hips, I want to move my shoulders away from them to try and create space, which then goes back into TSM.
Yeah.
I want to create space for my shoulder, my upper spine away from you, and that's where my hawking would normally go. And I'd say the only place I really use kind of like hawking kind of motion is in armbar defense, where I'm again trying to free my shoulders by using my hips and walking my hips away to try and pull my shoulders out. But I don't use it in a specific way, like, oh, here's hawking. I use it as that kind of overall concept due to Vim of what's free, I'm going to move that. There's a moment, so I did a private with the South Africans on Sunday after class. And we were talking about that idea of the seesaw, as in it's the exact same idea. It was about getting up out of turtle, is that if your head's trapped, move your hips. If your hips trapped, move your head. Can't do both at the same time, usually, not easily. and if they are, they're a smart grappler. But majority of the time, people don't. But that's why I'd normally put hawking in, and it allows me that frame then to try and create space to get up again. I'm trying to, you're the person on top. You're trying to limit my operational space, so I'm going to try and create space by moving my shoulders away initially, and then once you kind of let go of my hips, I'm going to move those away as well. Yeah, if that makes sense. So it does have a place, but not as a specific
position to
moving
play
definitely away. Yeah, exactly. There isn't a position.
We don't chill there. We try not to chill. We don't try not to chill there anymore, do we?
No, it's a lot more active. I don't want anyone on top of me for any period of time, because someone who knows what they're doing is going to hand fight me and be aggressive, and even if they don't have material control, they're going to limit the space I can operate in.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I want to be able to get the fuck up. I don't want to be on the bottom. Which, I guess there's a space in time for that kind of chilled, relaxed rolling. But again, it still feels a bit disingenuous.
Yeah.
That's the right word for it. It feels like it only exists in the jiu-jitsu sphere. Yeah, this feels like it carries across generationally into other sporting endeavours. I don't want to be on the floor, essentially.
Yeah, simply.
And I use the concept behind it to get up off the floor. So I'm not staying in hawking. I'm freeing my shoulders to get up out of it. So I guess there is a space for it in that.
Yeah.
And that, I guess, kind of comes all the way round to. So I had a question come through on Instagram. I talked about at the beginning of the podcast about the Winter Soldier. And there's two versions of this class. The one that happened in Maine wasn't. Oh, actually, no. It was recorded. I recorded it. Genius. Yeah, actually. Well, hey. Existing on my GoPro is a full 2-hour seminar from the Globetrotters camp in Maine. I'll stitch them all together. It's all individual videos right now. I'll put it on YouTube. Why not? Gift to the world. Yeah, so there's I think there was one recorded at the Austria camp, the initial Winter Soldier, which is going to be coming out, I think, imminently on the Globetrotters YouTube channel. It looks like they're uploading videos from that camp currently. Preetz and Francesco's just went up. But the version I did in Maine was a bit of a continuation of it because I wanted to put two classes together. Mm-hmm. And it's essentially this idea of like, what we were talking about with the 3 H's and the 3 S's of giving people drills that they can take, and as long as you kind of stick to the concept and like hear the words and stick to the words, your jiu-jitsu will change. And I get to try and boil it down to the very basics. So I think TSM was a really good one, time, space, material. If you're on the bottom, you are increasing space. Just increase space from the other person. Deny them material control. Increase spatial. Increase your space from them. If you're on top, deny the other person material control. Take material control away from them, as in take something from them. Take control of something. If you can't do that, control the space they can operate in. And you can boil it down to that. The 3 H's that we always use: high hips, hip heist, hand fight. So keep yourself square to the ground. So you're always, hips facing the floor. Keep your hips higher than the other person. So essentially, it's another way of explaining TSM. Of if I'm on top, I get to dictate space. I can't be on top easily if I'm not square to the ground. So make sure you're always square to the ground. And hand fight, because that is your initial material control. And then 3 S's of sweep, sub, stand. Sweep or sub if you cannot stand. If I can stand, aka I'm on the floor, I should be generating space and getting away from the other person. If I can't generate space, use sweep or sub to break their balance.
Mm-hmm.
So you can stand up.
Yes.
But it should be a secondary resort from just getting up. And I think pretty much all the drills we're doing right now and all the way we're training is always going back to that idea of having, like, you know, for the entire, what was it, just shy of 20 minutes we rolled earlier. That was all that was going through my head of TSM, 3 H's, 3 S's. And then blending my jiu-jitsu around that. And even moments when I was pausing, that was still going through my head. Difficult because of how slippery it was. It doesn't feel like real jiu-jitsu right now. I know we've both kind of caught each other recently, and it was only due to how ridiculously sweaty it is. Yeah. Nothing counts right now. We have to wear a gi or something.
We just whip harder.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the Winter Soldier. Is this idea that you can just say those words, and if you stick to it, you can make improvements in your jiu-jitsu. Same with, like, you know, you can look at anything we kind of talked about today about guard passing, for example, guard retention, TSM, control the space the other person has to move in if you're on top. If you're on the floor, create space between you and the other person. It's easy to forget. Like, I mean, again, it was one of the part of the private I did yesterday, Sunday, with the South Africans. Is one of them was having issues with the other person, other people kind of like passing their guard, and them getting stuck in kind of like a half upright running man situation. And I said, what if you, as they come close to you, just trim back a little bit? And they did, and like, oh. I was like, yeah, just move away from them. Like a. You got to think, like, it's easy to get stuck in that kind of, you know, the whole art of war thing. Like, you know, you want the higher ground, Anakin. If someone's got the higher ground on you, in most battles they will win. And so don't think you know, just because you're in the valley, you have to stay in the valley. Think, this is it for me. I'm just going to stay in the valley down here and hope for the best. You know, it's entirely plausible for someone to win from the valley. But in most wars, the person with the higher ground wins. You do not have to accept your lot. If there's space to move up into another hill, fucking move up. Put them in the fucking valley. And yeah, it's that kind of like, you know, if there's opportunity for you to move away up the other side of the valley, up another hill, move away. Why are you still down here? Frame, get up. Don't accept your lot. I think it's indicative of a lot of the issues that you have in jiu-jitsu sometimes. Is it's missing the wood for the trees. And so there's currently someone with us from Bristol University looking at various things about coaching and anthropology, I think it is. And he had a chat with me the other day about, you know, what skill am I trying to improve the most in my jiu-jitsu right now. I sat there and I thought, I think I'm trying to improve the most is seeing past all the things that are theatre in jiu-jitsu that only exist in the jiu-jitsu space, and looking at things more objectively and going, should that really be there? And it's one of those things, like, you know, those kind of pitch battles again of, you know, one person on their back in guard, one person upright, and you have to kind of stay where the fuck you are and fight from there instead of move away. So obvious like that. And that was an interesting question. That's like my main kind of push right now, is to look at things so objectively and go, right, why is that there? Does it only exist because of jiu-jitsu? Or the second we kind of step away from it, does it fall apart? What would you say yours is? As in, what skill are you working most on in your jiu-jitsu career right now?
In my head, all I'm trying to do is just simplify jiu-jitsu. I don't like. I don't want to have hundreds of answers for questions. You know what I mean? I try to keep it as small and condensed as possible. I mean, one thing I'm really working on is this timing thing, going for when to pull the trigger kind of thing. That's something I'm really working on.
Working on for yourself or working on for coaching reasons?
Both, you could say. Because if
So
it's simple for me, I can cut out a lot of garbage that I don't have to teach others. You know what I mean?
how do you coach that timing thing, would you say?
I think that comes with experience. I was having this discussion with Clear actually earlier, and I was like, look, we're doing it now, and I think the more we do this, I think that will come with time. I mean, our roles are getting so much more active now because we're just pulling the trigger as soon as we get a little gap. And I think that's what I'm kind of really pushing towards now, like just forcing gaps and pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I think that's part of the goal, really. And I think it's maybe easily explained with this idea of as silly as this is going to sound, and as much as it may affect my future income.
Oh, here we go.
I think, yes, you can learn the defensive postures and stuff like that, but there is a quickly realized natural ceiling to them, where best analogy I have for it, imagine you train at a boxing gym and everyone in the boxing gym works mostly on offense and just slugs each other from the hip, just throwing bombs at each other. And everything's about just throwing harder and different bombs. And then you learned about defensive postures, and so you come back and you put your hands up. And we know it because it's it's the most common feedback that I hear about the defensive postures. Anyone's watched How to Defend Everything 1, is I'm not getting caught in my gym anymore. Like I was rolling, just put my elbows in, I'm not getting caught. Cool, fantastic. So you've essentially gone back to your boxing gym with your hands up, and everyone's just gone, "What the fuck? I can't punch you in the face anymore." But then you hit a natural ceiling in that you can literally just like fight with your hands up by your chin, not get hit in the face, put your hands back down, slug someone in the face, then put your hands back up again. And you can be as lazy as you want because they don't realize that it's your hands in the way that's stopping them from hitting you in the face. And so you never get to work on that kind of timing. Like, you don't have, maybe unless there's really good people in the gym, like higher belts, people higher than you that can expose your gaps. But you don't have to try. You can just like defend, slug, defend. And then the drills that you do, if you're, say your coach doesn't really subscribe to the same ideas, is every drill is then back to putting your hands back down by your sides again. And you're like, wait, I shouldn't be doing that. I should have my hands up by your chin. Oh no, we have our hands by our sides in here. And so you can never really improve it through drilling either. You have to try and find small pockets of people that will work with you to improve these things in the gym. If you're on your own, it's a very quick ceiling you're going to hit. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the whole thing about timing is that, when you've got two people who know what gaps they need to look for and are throwing good defense and the gaps are getting smaller, that's what timing is. As in, that's the thing, like, when we're hand fighting each other and we're looking for those spaces to attack, it's fleeting. But I know the space that I need and I have to choose my moment to go for it, and that window could be very, very small. Ryan Hall actually said it really well. I'm going to try and get him on this podcast.
He will. I think he'll come.
Ryan Hall said it
after the conversation you guys had last time.
Yeah, it was. It depends if he remembers me. He said it about, I went to one of his seminars about 12 years ago, and he said, he asked, who's the newest person in the room. It was over in Leicester, and he said, this guy puts his hand up, he's only been doing jiu-jitsu for a few months. And he goes, right, can you put me in a rear naked choke? So the guy puts Ryan in a rear naked choke. Ryan taps, turns around, Ryan puts him in one. The guy taps. He goes, look, we're only human. We've both got necks. The difference is my ability to get there is going to be better than yours. But I can, if you find my neck, I'm still going to tap. And especially, being a semi-new white belt at the time, I was like, oh, wow, black belts can be tapped too. They're not magic. What the hell? And that's what it all comes down to again. It's like this kind of like, your ability to find my chin, is going to be different depending on what level you're at. And so it all comes down to how much I can cover my chin and how much of my chin my leaves exposed to you. It's nothing about technique. And technique's just a different way of explaining how much I cover my chin. And can attack you in return. So I think that's part of the thing about hand fighting, is to be able to hide your own offense, keep your own defense, hide your own offense, and expose someone else's defense, and exploit it.
Yep, agreed.
But you have to have partners to do that who are working towards the same thing. Otherwise, if you're against someone who's just keeping their hands down still, you're gonna slug them.
This is why I couldn't do a normal class anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's so hard.
No, completely. I understand it completely. I think we've nailed those questions.
Boom.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think we answered the questions quite effectively. I don't think we brushed over anything quick. Spent good time on each question, I think.
Yeah, that was good. I like this idea of Discord asking us questions and we can answer like this.
Yeah.
It's interesting topics. And it feels like we're going to come back to the same answers.
Yeah, weird.
Weird. All boils down to the same stuff still. Quick advert before we say goodnight. There is going to be a camp in Switzerland. There are details on Instagram. It's being arranged by Joker Jiu-Jitsu over in Bern in Switzerland. It's full camp with myself and Sven Groten. Sven's a badass. It's a defense-offense camp. I wonder who's doing the defense stuff. I don't think it's Sven. And I think it's over a couple of days, over a weekend. The price includes the hotel. It's got a lake around the back you can go swimming in. All the classes, some food, I think, and yeah. So there's if you want any more details on that, definitely contact myself or Joku Jiu-Jitsu Bern for more details. So there's going to be pictures on my Instagram advertising it. Other than that, I'll be at the Heidelberg Globetrotters camp and at Lake Constance in southern Germany just before the camp on that weekend. So if you are around there or at the Heidelberg camp, please hit me up, ask me questions. I'm always around at pretty much every open mat to answer things. What about you? Have you got any travelling jiu-jitsu plans? I don't know if Raul's got any camps on.
Not at the moment, no. So I haven't got anything booked at the moment till the end of the year, but you never know. Something might come up.
Hopefully that's the plan, is to get you out there as much as I am.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, that's the goal. I'd love you to go out and do stuff like this, see the world via jiu-jitsu. But yeah, so if anyone's around those areas, there are other seminars happening as well. I think there's Words of Tokyo at some point in the year, towards the end of the year. I'm so excited for that. Even if it doesn't come off, I just want to go to Tokyo. Right, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun answering these questions. I think doing the video as well worked really well. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you for sticking around. We've reaped the week. There are, I say, different guests coming up soon. Good night, sir.
Good night.
Always get some sleep.
Always a pleasure.
Even though it's only been a couple of hours, I missed your face and voice. Good night, Naki.
Good night. Have a good one, mate. See you in a bit.
Bye.